online. Welcome, artists. It's Tuesday, and it's 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Hey, to see it on my site, would I have to be programmed up there?
No, actually.
Okay. So it'll automatically post on my site.
Yeah, because what we did is we tagged you here, so your friends should be able to sign on.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off like that. I wasn't sure.
That's exactly what we want to do. Is
a lot of my friends will be looking at my site. They may not go to Roger.
Yeah. So we are in Tremont, Ohio. We're at the Manly Place.
The Manly Pad.
The Manly Pad.
Yeah.
And we're in Tim's gallery. Studio gallery.
More of a studio because they don't open up to the public because it's just a lot of work and I just don't. So
Gotcha.
I do more of my work here. The Manly Pad was actually named after the building.
Oh.
When I moved here, it was in the winter of 1987-88, and this building was so beastly that I got it for $14,500. That's a brick building. It's got some lead glass windows, oak framing, and it's just beautiful, but it had other problems. I had thousands of roaches in this building. Just to walk around, you'd see roaches all over, especially in the kitchen. They wouldn't even run. The upstairs basement, the sewer was backed up. It was almost like Muhammad Ali's throwing a jab in your nose when you're trying to walk in here. And the upstairs bathtub was halfway filled with human waste.
Wow.
I just shoveled it out. That's why the name came the Manly Pad. It was kind of like the Charles Bronson, Clint Eastwood type of pad, you know. But people sometimes get the wrong reason, but that's okay.
But I love it. I mean, that's a story. And I think at some point as people start to jump on and we start to have some of the folks that you know, some of the folks that tune into Tuesday at 7, I want to get back to how art and studios and artists can change an area too, because I think that's an interesting topic.
Yeah, Tremont's a good example of that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys for joining in. For those who watched last week, we had Frank Chaff. Frank Chaff is a director, and he's down in the Akron area. And one of the things that surprised us, because we said, Frank, let us know how many shows you've been involved in your career. And the number he wrote down was 358.
Wow.
So we talked to Frank about what was going on down there, the number of shows, kind of.
Sounds like a legend.
Oh, he is a legend. As a matter of fact, he has a theater named after him.
Already?
So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's not even dead yet.
Well, good for him.
And thank you guys for joining in last week. This week, as you share this interview, you'll have the opportunity to win some original artwork by Tim, right? And we'll show that right now. We'll show it a few times.
Denny, come here, buddy. You mean well. Come here, buddy. There you go.
Yeah, we love dogs, and we've had cats on our interviews. And is this Beth? Give me a direction here.
Let's get him a ring light on it. There you go.
Yeah. So tell us just a little bit about this piece here.
A lot of times I go to the Natural History Museum and draw. I haven't done it for a while, but Cleveland Natural History Museum is a great place to draw on a Wednesday night. They'll let you come in, and well, that was the best time to come in because they're open till 9 o'clock. Go down and do some drawing. So in the basement, they have a ton of birds, and a lot of artists go down there to draw them. So I drew that from the Natural History Museum.
Yeah.
Most everything in my studio is drawn from life. Very little isn't. Even people think I used a photograph for things like this, but no, it was a stuffed bird.
Yeah. Love it. So everybody who shares the interview this week, whether you're sharing it live or whether you share that later, next week we're going to put your name in a drawing, and then we'll draw this next week.
Okay.
And whoever is drawn, we're going to get this original artwork up to them. Sure. There's a few artists that shared original artwork, and people always, they eat that up, and for good reason.
Well, I actually have had that in the studio for a long time, so I don't mind giving it up to a good home.
Yeah, and this is great work. What is this work? Is this...
This is pastel.
Pastel?
I start with Conti Grand, then I use pastel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great work.
It's a cheap frame, though, so they can change the frame.
It's the artwork, not the frame, right?
Trying to protect it, yeah.
That's great. So, as folks are joining in, remember, if you share, there's a share button, and I think it's the bottom right-hand corner. When you share that, you could share it to a group. You could share it to your friends list. You could share it to even specific people. So some people will share and just go, I've got 5 artist friends that should see this, the work from Tim, and they'll share to 5 friends. Or they could just share it to a group. But if you're sharing at all, your name will be in this drawing next week. And we always kind of start the interview off with just an offbeat question. And my offbeat question is, if you had to live for the rest of your life with only one band or one musician.
Ooh, man. That is an offbeat question.
It's an offbeat question, right? Because, I mean, and as we walked in and I heard music, I was like...
You know, mine would change from time to time.
Okay.
And I covered the gamut. I'm listening to Snoop Dogg up there, the Ramones, you know, I like Iggy Pop, and I just told you about Coco Rosie and other things, LP. There's a lot of variety. So that would vary. Right now, it'd probably be the Ramones.
The Ramones?
Yeah, next month it might be something else. It would be something else. I liked Iggy Pop for a long time. I still do, you know.
One of my favorite songs by the Ramones, Beat on the Brat. Just,
Oh, really?
I don't know, for some reason that thing just calls my name. As a
Yeah.
father of four, we love our kids.
Wow, father of four. Wow.
But thank you for that input.
What's the age of your kids? From lowest, youngest to oldest?
20 at the youngest, 24
At the oldest.
is our oldest.
Oh, so you're busy at one time.
Yeah.
Those 4 years were hectic.
Yeah. And now our kids are all independent and kind of doing their thing, and so Beth and I are kind of rediscovering who we are.
Yeah.
And,
It's funny how that happens.
that's a great time of life and a great season. All right, guys, we're going to jump right in. Remember, this is a live interview, so if you're watching right now, Tuesday at 7, that gives you the opportunity to go in, make comments, to ask questions. We're going to kind of pause interviews when it feels natural. We're going to take your questions as well. And we're going to kind of discover a little bit about Tim's journey, about what he's done with the Pretentious Cleveland Portrait Artists, and maybe where his creativity might go here in the near future and the distant future. But tell me back. Let's reflect back, because we often start with the artist and just say, "Hey, pre-college, pre-high school, where did you find some of those initial sparks?" I mean, did you know when you were
When I was younger, when I went to high school, I had art in 9th grade.
Okay.
And everybody's introduction to art in 9th grade is normally this week we'll work with metal, this week we'll take colored paper and rip it, this week we'll draw a still life. So you really don't, I don't know how much you really absorb or learn, you kind of dabble with a lot of things. And that was the only art I had in high school. I signed up in 12th grade and then dropped out because the teacher came in and said they were going to do something, draw on our own. I got bored, I left, I signed for something else. But after that, I went to Republic Steel, worked a year, and that, you know, that was okay for a year, but, you know, wanted a little more adventure.
Yeah.
So I went to Akron U, took general classes, and I still had no idea, any interest in anything I wanted to do. I did take an art class, and it was my introduction to art. And I enjoyed the class, only that it was more personal. After the class, I would feel I would know these people a little better than my history class or my math class, science class, where I might just nod and recognize the face. And for somehow that was important to me. I also had a little ADD when I was younger too, I think. It's self-diagnosis. That when I would try to read a book in high school, I could never read it. I would go through 5-6 pages and realize I only absorbed the first paragraph, and after that, my mind was out in outer space. You know, I was daydreaming. I couldn't concentrate. So art was a easier thing to gravitate to, hands-on. And, you know, you have to do. You're not reading a book for the most part. So after that introduction to Akron U, taking that art class, I liked it, and then I had another job for a year, and I got into Cooper School of Art, which is now defunct.
Okay.
But I was able to get the first 2 years solid. My parents were able to help me pay for 2 years. Then after that, I would work at the cable company, and I'd work 5 days and 2 days go to school. Work 5 days, 2 days go to school, and I wasn't going for a degree.
Yeah.
At that time, I was getting excited about learning something, you know, that was. I just had never done it before, so now all of a sudden I'm learning how to draw and I'm getting excited about it. So it just kind of took over. So I take portrait drawing, life drawing, figure drawing, portrait painting, figure painting, just those classes over and over. I'd never take portfolio review or any of those other classes that you need to get a certificate to graduate. So.
But you knew early on that the portrait, the life drawing, that was your passion, it sounds like, right?
It grew into that, yeah.
Okay.
I remember when I went to Cooper School of Art for the first year. When you go to a school of art, you're there with the best of the best. Mm-hmm. The best high school student from Euclid, from Strongsville, from Shaker, from Parma. And they all come there with big egos. And every class I was in at that time, when I turned in my assignment, I was the absolute worst. Because I had no training, I had nothing. I'd be just in awe of these other students.
Yeah.
But a lot of times that would be a detriment to them because their egos would take over and they would all of a sudden realize they're not the best. And maybe these 4 people are better than them, so they'd start dropping out. But I was just excited because I was learning so fast, so much, because I knew nothing. It was like an empty vessel to fill. So it helped get me more excited.
How important do you think it was for your development as an artist to have that formal training?
Oh, everything. Everything. Just be able to, I was surprised the first time I learned I could teach myself to draw was what they call foreshortening. Drawing an arm and a hand that's coming at you instead of down to the side. Because before I discovered that, if somebody would pose and have their hand like that, I'd draw it down here. Because my eyes wouldn't take over to see this. My brain would take over and say, oh, I know what a hand and arm look like, and you draw it like that. But then once I realized there's a shape in front of a shape in front of a shape, and look at that shape. Oh, that was exciting. That's art. That was exciting to me, to be able to discover that I could use my eyes to really look at shapes and, just everything just exploded. I was happy as could be.
Yeah.
So then I would go to life drawing sessions whenever I could. People have them all over the place. You just attend them and draw, attend them and draw. My drawings would still stink for years and years, You do a drawing of a whole figure and the only thing that would look good is maybe the knee or maybe a little elbow, but you'd be excited about that. And you'd come back, you'd try again. So it was fun.
Was there any aha moments during those formal training years where you were like, over a week or over a month, you're like, whoa, I made this huge step?
Yeah. The one I told you about discovering foreshortening was one of the biggest aha moments.
Okay.
But there's a lot in between. I found myself, I had great teachers. Lois Vance, Tony Shepis, Jose Centron. They taught both at Cooper and the Institute of Art that I went to afterward. And I find I would make the same mistakes over and over again. If I was making my head too big, I'd have to keep being instructed, you're making it too big, you're making it too big. It's like it takes forever to get it pounded in your brain to get it right. But, what can I say?
Yeah.
No, as far as aha moments, though, discovering foreshortening was the biggest. And the rest is just trying to break bad habits or, get the observations I was supposed to get things right.
Yeah. For those people who are joining, and creatives are, we are traditionally late to signing on, right? For those who are joining, we're with Tim Herron, where he's a portrait artist. And would you consider yourself a portrait artist?
No, I'm more of an artist, actually. Actually, what I do in my own time is landscapes.
Oh.
I'm a plein air painter. This one here. I'm sorry, I don't know if you can see those.
Yeah.
This was an early one up here. But I thought I was going to be a portrait artist.
Okay.
But to be a portrait artist and make money, I believe it's been taken over by the photograph. Because you have to get such a likeness and detail, or at least a lot of them strive for that, where it's no fun to be a portrait artist. I want to draw from life.
Yeah.
And I can't get these models to pay me money and sit 5-6 times.
Yeah.
So I went a different route. I like plein air painting better.
So while we're on that subject, so plein air painting, tell us a little bit about that. So that's actually a French term, right?
Means painting outside.
Painting outside.
Yeah.
In natural light, and that's where artists will grab their paints, their easels, their canvas.
Have you ever seen anyone painting outside in Cleveland?
Rarely.
Yeah,
rarely.
Yeah.
And it's usually down here in the Tremont area. It may have been you.
It was probably me.
It may have been you. So
yeah, I guess the peninsula and some of the other areas, there's a lot of plein air or more plein air painters. But for years, I never saw any. Great friend of mine, Ron Johnson, was one of the few that I knew that was plein air painting down here. And the late Ron Jarenko. They were great. Ron Johnson's still painting, and they're amazing. They were an inspiration to me when I'd see them painting. But
what inspired you to grab your paints and your easel? Was it with somebody else? Did they grab you and say, hey, let's go paint outside? Or did you just venture out on your own?
I think as I was getting frustrated with doing portraiture, that I gravitated to that. In the early days, I was doing portraiture. In fact, do you remember the old May show?
Yeah, of course.
I know the last 9 years they had it. I entered every year with a friend of mine, Robert Ritchie. And he was, I a non-objective painter. He didn't paint realism. He painted non-objective shapes and patterns in the background. You can see his influence now. These are mine, but that's the type of approach he would have. And we would get rejected from the May Show year after year after year. And a good friend of ours, Ed Raffel, who was an amazing artist, at that time was taking a photograph, projecting it on a canvas and painting in with heavy detail. It was photorealism. It was really strong. And he'd get in there every year. And me and Robert would get so frustrated that, that we didn't have a chance. So it's tough competing against a photograph in portraiture for something like that. To make a living. Yeah. So you have to be almost John Singer Sargent to do that. Yeah. So that gravitated me to outside to do the plein air painting.
And you had mentioned at one point that that you paint from life, right?
Right.
So plein air or by portrait or
something from the Natural History Museum that's stuffed.
The stuff. So I mean, it's not.
I don't know if you would call it plain life, but yeah, it was from something real there.
Yeah. So those who are joining in, by sharing, you'll get your opportunity to win some original artwork by Tim. And again, this is real life art. So thank you for sharing that. You are from Ohio, right? Born and raised?
My whole life, yeah.
Living your whole life?
When I was a little kid, we grew up in North Olmsted. And then in about 7th, 8th grade, we moved to Richfield, where the Coliseum is. Mm-hmm. And then once I got out of there, I've lived all around Cleveland, Detroit, 117th area, across from the Brothers Lounge. I lived in Euclid a couple years, 2 different places, lived in Cleveland Heights. And this was the first house I bought.
Yeah. What keeps you here? Or what drew you here?
I don't really like to do a lot of traveling. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of a homebody, so I like Cleveland. I like everything around here. I like to live in the urban areas. I grew up in Richfield, and I didn't like that more rural area. I liked it more in the city. So I've always been happier anywhere in the city. And this has been fine for me. I mean, Tremont was rough in the early years, but it was my own house, and it was supposed to be an artist community. But so it was fun. I enjoyed it. But it's changed drastically. When I first moved here in 87, 88, the area was so depressed that my property tax every year was $400. Now it's $4,400. It changed.
So before we leave the topic of plein air painting, why plein air painting? I mean, what are some of those advantages? What draws you?
It's the excitement of painting, just loving to paint. Mm-hmm. And if I have to do things from a photograph, like a landscape from a photograph, it's laborious to me. It's like I'm standing over a canvas having to match an image or do. I just don't like it. Yeah. I'm inspired when I can paint from life. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's funny on the Friday nights, drawing on Friday nights. That's just steady practice. I enjoy doing it. I mean, I'm not doing any portraits on the side to make any money. That's just fun.
Yeah. What's the natural light versus artificial light? Do you see much of a difference? Yeah.
Well, natural light's always better.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter to me, as long as I have some light source. I have tried plein air painting at night, and it's very difficult. I've yet to master doing that because I can never get the lights to work well enough to see my paints the way I'm supposed to see them and see the colors, because it looks so dark and everything looks like a different color at night, even with the artificial lights I was using. So
interesting. Yeah,
that's a little more tough.
Has anybody out there done any plein air painting? If you have, let us know. Do we have any questions, people signing in, comments yet there, Beth?
Not so far.
If you have questions, let us know.
Sam White said, do you have any paintings of the Pentecostal Church on West 7th?
No.
No.
I painted St. Theodosius probably about 30 times. Other churches close to 0. You know St. Theodosius?
Yeah.
This one right here is in the Deer Hunter.
Yeah, why that church?
It's the most beautiful one there is. Those spirals, those dorms, those onion-shaped or what do you call mushroom-shaped domes.
Yeah.
They're just beautiful.
Do people buy those too? I mean, is that something that...
I've sold some over the years. Yeah, I've done pretty good with that. But it's just it's a hard thing to paint because they are so exact to get everything just to look right.
Yep.
Use a little trick as an artist, a negative shape. The shape around the spires and the domes helps me draw those things because it's tough.
Do you start with negative shape with your?
No, I start with the mass shape of what I'm looking at. But as you progress, you use all the little artist tools in your kit.
Yeah.
The negative shape's one of them. The shape that you don't see, like the shape between the arm here. If you get this shape right, that'll help get the rest of the shapes right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. There's a movie they made about the writer Harvey Pekar, American Splendor. And when they made that movie, they actually paid me $50, $75. They climbed on my roof and they took 2 shots of St. Theodosius. So if you play back the credits, or what do you call it, the audio, where they talk afterward about the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They actually mentioned the manly pad. They kind of, yeah, they were laughing about it being in here.
Yeah, that's a great behind the scenes trivia, right?
Yeah, well, that movie was in Deer Hunter, as most people know. It's also in a Major League too. Martin Sheen, Wild Thing.
Yeah,
it was in that movie too. A little drive-by there, St. Theodosius. It's a landmark.
You had talked about portrait versus landscape, which it sounds as though if it was your preference, you probably would move towards the landscape. But would you say
I kind of have moved towards the landscape.
Okay.
Another problem with portraiture for me is a lot of the ones I was doing was with pastel. Pastel's a medium that you normally need to frame, get glass, and if possible matte, and it's more needy to get so you can preserve it. Oils, once you paint them, you just put varnish, it's done. So I like that. That's one other reason I stick mostly to oils when I do my work, my plein air painting. I don't really do any in pastel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to have to frame them all.
So your portraits, a lot of them you're doing in pastel, you're doing oils.
Those are the ones I'm giving away.
I see.
So if they like them, hopefully they'll put a frame on them. Because I like working in pastel.
Yeah.
I just don't like having to frame it.
Because it's quick, right?
Yeah, it's expensive too. It's like I say, you have to get matte, you have to get glass, you have to get a frame, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
These are good to go.
So oil's your preferred medium?
Well, oil's my preferred. Well, I like them both. Oil's my preferred medium because it keeps me out of framing them and putting glass and a matte on them. Yeah.
When you plein air paint, you paint with oils?
Always oils.
Always?
Yeah.
Gotcha. And as I'm looking over at Beth, I see her eyes are wandering because we're in the manly pad is filled with phenomenal work.
Yeah, all these paintings here, the models posed about 5 or 6 times, 3 hours each. I'd get other artists to come in with me, and we draw.
Gotcha. Do you do
paint, I should say.
Yeah. Do the models come here often for that? And you have.
Yeah, that's my modeling stand right now.
Okay.
You know the one I've got shown now of the nun?
Yes.
We're in the middle of that. That's the model stand where she sits and poses, and I'll be over here, and maybe Brian Pierce here, Juan Quierte over there, and other artists come in.
Out of curiosity and probably curiosity from the viewers. So you've got somebody and they may be sitting for a period of time and you have them come back a separate time, right?
Oh yeah. Like I say, these all sat 6 different times.
6
for
different
3
times.
hours.
And
about that, yeah.
And is there any tricks to getting the models right back to where they were? And
putting tape on the mark, and just sometimes we tape our own easels so we know where we are, so we can look at it and make sure are they in the same spot. Yeah, just work it out.
What is the difference, your opinion, of a sitter or a model that you know versus a total stranger?
The features might be a little more similar if I've drawn them before. You're kind of aware of little things that make them them. But I don't know. It's funny, on Fridays we normally don't want return models because we want the excitement of a new face all the time.
Yeah, so tell us about that. So Friday's the Pretentious Cleveland Portrait Artists.
Yeah, I'll tell you from the beginning, it'd probably be best. The little bar we used to draw in is called the Literary Cafe. It was around the corner, and a lot of the artists went there. It was a little watering hole. They opened at odd hours. It opened like at 9 at night to 1 in the morning. On Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So it makes sense out of that.
Hours.
Yeah. So my friend Brian Pierce and I were in there one night, and he was suggesting, Tim, you want to get stage practice with a portrait, which I did want to get stage practice. He said, why don't you just tell the people in the bar if they'll sit for you back here, you'll give them the drawing. I said, that's not a bad idea. You know, it wasn't great, it wasn't bad, but you know, they'd hang out, sit, let me draw them.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And while we were coming up with this idea, there was a fellow sitting down the bar, who another artist I knew. He was talking to his friend, and he was explaining to him that Tremont was full of pretentious artists. And I happened to catch that. I thought, oh, that's great. We'll just call ourselves the Pretentious Tremont Artists. So we started real slowly. We'd get models, would repeat then. They'd come, you know, some models posed like 5 or 6 times, others 3 or 4 times. But every Friday, I would draw the model, I'd give them the drawings. And after a year or two, there was a group of artists out of Little Italy, Murray Hill group, and they're very good. Howard Collier, Larry Zuzik, Jeff Santala, Nancy Lick, Jack Float, and Juan Quierte, and they would come down and they started joining me. And when they started joining me, it became something more special because now I had a large group of artists that were giving their drawings away to the model. So when the model sat, you know, if I stunk up the room, hopefully my friends didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that started rolling after a while. Then all of a sudden we could get a couple celebrities. We've had authors married, Doria Russell. We've had Les Roberts, the late James Hinkey, who was a rock biographer. We've had politicians Tim Hagen, Ed Feehan. We've had newscasters Dawn Kendricks, Eileen McShay, Scott Taylor, who was an investigative reporter who moved out of town, and almost all the poets in Cleveland. A lot of artists, you know, Dodge Snyder, she had posed for us along with her husband Chris and her brother-in-law James, and we had Anna Arnold pose for us, Angelica Pozzo, the late Dan Traberg. So we get around.
And there's a waiting list for your...
Right now I'm scheduling in October.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are watching live or watching the next week, you know that it's March of 2020. But if we're looking at October, you're talking about 6-7 months out, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, what a lot of people don't know that don't follow us is that we've actually been around for over 14 years now because we started around 2005. And we do not miss Fridays. This is every Friday, not like once a month.
That's amazing.
And in 14 years, we've probably missed 6 Fridays. 2 or 3 to snow, 1 to a friend who got married who just took everybody was friends of theirs, and 1 or 2 other odd things that happened. There was an opening that took all the artists, so I had to close. Well, we didn't actually close down that night. We had like 6 artists, which were small.
What's the average number of artists that you end up with, at least right now?
In the early days, it was anywhere from 3 or 4 to 8. And now, a month or 2 ago, we had 34 artists there one night.
Wow.
Then last week, we probably had 15 or 14, and then sometimes 11. But normally we get around 15 to 20.
And do you still give the portraits to the sitter?
Still give our portraits to the sitter. It's a very unique situation. I don't know if there's any city that does what we do. We're different than every other drawing group. One, we do portraits. Most people, the drawing groups have a model and they pose nude or along that line, but we're strictly portraits. And the other thing is because we don't hire models, and our models are from the public, the general public has to pose, our emphasis is on the model. Every other drawing group, their emphasis is on the artist. You hire a model, here's your money, pose, thank you. The model's happy. If the artist, they draw, they get where they want, they shuffle. This is different. Because this is all about the model, I actually make sure the front 4 seats, I try to put what I consider at the time my best artists.
Yeah.
Because I want to pay the model. I want to give them the best drawing I can give them.
Yeah.
But, after that, everybody sits and, gets as close as they can. And because there's not many easels set up, we're packed like sardines in there. So we got 34 people. And at the end of the night, it's just amazing to give those drawings away. And hopefully we got some that the model really appreciates and loves.
I mean, that's amazing. And so is it a different location each week or varied locations over time?
The hope was that when we drew, we would be in the public eye. So public would see us drawing. So the literary cafe was perfect. We were in the back room. Patrons come in, they could see us drawing. We've drawn at the Forest City Brewery, Bottle House Brewery, and in those places you have patrons that come in and see you drawing. Currently, our home base is what we call, Artful Cleveland. It's in Cleveland Heights. They do theater on one side, and they have artist resident studios on the other side. And they've been kind and generous and wonderful. And they've allowed us to draw there on Friday nights. Brandy Dindia and Shannon Morris, thank you.
I tell you what, I mean, to have partners out in the community means everything.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's tough. Because for us to find a place to draw, we got to have a large room, good lighting, and it's hard to find. Because you got to rent, and we're not-profit if there's ever such a non-profit.
Yeah,
We don't make money. We for the artists that draw with me, all they really get, well, I won't say all, but what they get is they get steady practice. And I give them a different face each week now. And I also publish it, not only on my Facebook page, but on the website, the Pretentious Cleveland Portrait Artists.
So the website, and that's a great segue. So how would somebody get to your website? Is it?
They could probably just go to Google and type in Pretentious Cleveland Portrait Artists or Pretentious Cleveland Artists.
Okay.
The website itself is actually still, I think, www.literarycafeartist.com.
Okay.
But I don't know if people remember that. You just type in Pretentious Cleveland Artist.
Steve Sens says the best part is definitely giving the portrait back to the sitter.
Yes.
So.
One good thing about that, and the one thing that it's an advantage most artists don't realize, when you go to all these drawing groups and you pay $10, you go home and your drawings, you keep them. And for me, most of those drawings are in my basement. Mm-hmm. When I die, they're going to be chucked. So this way, you're finding the best home possible for that drawing.
Yeah.
If it's a stinky drawing, hopefully toss it. If it's a good drawing, hopefully they frame it.
Yeah.
Each week's different.
I mean, it sounds incredible
Yeah.
to be able to know that you're going to walk out with 8 to 34 different perspectives and
Right.
different styles.
And there's different levels of talent. Steve
Yeah.
Sens is a wonderful artist. We get artists that are just starting or just trying to get better. And then we get ones like Steve and everyone else there that are just fabulous. So.
Sure. And even those who are still learning, there's always, like you said, there's always something. Like someone may get the ear exactly right. Whatever it is as they're starting.
Yeah.
That person has the opportunity to see all those different perspectives
Right.
and views and how they saw them. And it might be the best drawing of their forehead that they've ever seen in their life. And that, drawing, I think that's incredible.
In terms of, I love the fact that you gather weekly, right? Because you're providing momentum, you're providing models, you're in the practice of that,
Yeah.
that weekly touch. In terms of folks that come in, I would imagine if you've been running this for 14 years, you've seen a lot of growth for the artists
yeah.
that have come here.
Actually, especially for me. If you're going to the website, look at the beginning of my drawings, and most all my artists have albums on my site. So if you want to see their art, you can go to my Facebook site, Tim Herron, not Timothy, but Tim Herron, Herron, and you would look at the albums under photos, albums. You would see albums for Steve Sens, for Howard Collier, Larry Zuzik, Nancy Lick, the rest of the people that draw with me, John Skanicki. And for me, since I've been doing it this long, and Larry Zuzik's always been great, Howard's always been great, but for mine, you can really see a progression from okay to much better.
I mean, so if we do the math, and you've rarely missed a week, 14 years times, let's say 50 weeks per year,
Yeah.
that's a whole lot of drawings.
Yeah, it's probably over 500 or so, 600. I don't know.
What models stand out? Because I mean, obviously, if you're not borrowing from the same life models that are used to disrobing, I mean, you're getting real people. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, some of the interesting ones we had Tim Herron pose for us, and he's a politician, Democratic politician, and the day he posed for us was the Friday after Trump was elected. It was just a weird, sullen day for a lot of people who weren't Trump supporters.
Yeah.
But, it's just ironic, that's life. You just go on.
What did you? Could you tell perhaps in his?
We kind of laughed about it.
Yeah.
You just have to. He was really good. He was a good model. So he just got through it then.
And I love the fact that you're painting, or your portraiture, perhaps painting pastels. I mean, do people bring different mediums with them to do it? They were sculpt.
Right. We did. Jack Float has done a couple sculptures, but that's rare.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's kind of shy is oil painting, because people aren't really ready to take something with oil paint that's going to be wet for at least 2 days home, and you don't want to get there.
Yeah.
It's kind of messy. I wouldn't say you couldn't do it, but That's about it. People have used acrylic and common for watercolor. A lot of watercolors, pastel. Steve Sens, who was on there, he uses silver point, which I had no idea existed till he used it. And
What is a silver point?
I'd rather let Steve explain it, but
Steve, please throw a comment in and tell us about silver point, if you would. And once he does so, we'll come back to Beth.
yeah.
How have people discovered you over the years? Or I should say, you and your
Word of mouth,
yeah?
Facebook, the website. We did get a idea stream, did a little video on us.
Yeah.
So we got something on that. So that plays every so often at 25, and then all of a sudden I get a little influx of emails, people saying, "Well, I'd like to draw with you, or I'd like to pose for you." And the other good thing about it, anybody could draw with us anytime. You know, there's no screening process. You want to draw, just show up. But they have to go to my Facebook site, Tim Herron, to see where the location is for that week.
Gotcha. The location, and probably, do we also know about who the model is going to be that week?
I post that week, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have these models I've never met before, so this Friday's model, I hate to say it, but I don't remember her name. I'll know it by Friday, because I'll contact her again.
Well, he hasn't responded. I don't know if he's still there. A silver point drawing is made by dragging a silver rod or wire across a surface, often prepared with gesso. One of several types of metal point used by scribes, craftsmen, and artists since ancient times.
Are you looking at that from
Google.
just Google?
Yeah, he was the first person I know to have used that, so I was not familiar with silver point.
He says
mixed
it
it with
went out
watercolor.
of fashion in the 16th century when graphite was created. One draws with a metal wire.
That's awesome.
And it said that...
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Jean wants to know if Roger has posed for you. I don't know.
No,
if she's
you haven't
talking-
posed.
I'm on the list though.
Are you?
I am on the
good.
list. Yeah. This summer
November?
sometime. This summer sometime, I think.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Our artists will love to draw you because you have the beard.
And the beard.
When guys have beards, it makes it easier to draw the chin because you don't know exactly where it is, so as long as you put hair.
So you can fake it.
We got the chin right.
Let's fake it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have artists, your regular artists, and you might go from a handful to 30 something. I mean, how do you plan for that? Is it just like we have to expect a large group, and as people walk in, we deal with it?
The location has to be able to handle it. Artful Cleveland's been great for that. They handled 34 people easily. Forest City's been great for us. When they don't have anyone booked, they've been real generous. Jay and company have been generous, allowing us to draw there, and they have room for us. So it's, a lot of the artists you see drawing in a studio, painting with a model of what they do, they all have easels, and you'll get 5 or 6 people, and they'll be out to me from the other wall. We're packed in with chairs, almost like sardines, so we can get a lot of people in pretty close. The ones on the outside, a lot of times you use their iPhone, their iPads if they have it, to take a photo and blow it up so you can see the detail in the eye and things they can't get because they aren't up close.
Gotcha.
It's unfortunate I can't get everyone up close.
Yeah. Man, that's a lot of work on your part. What's the
main work I do is
Yeah.
actually the editing. That after I get the images, I take photos of them. I have to come back here and crop them, then adjust the contrast brightness, and then get them ready, and then post them, and then post them on the website. That's a little time consuming, but I enjoy it. I love it because I just enjoy the hell out of Friday night drawing. Just relaxing, and that challenge just for me, even if nobody else was around me, to try to get that face and capture the best I can. And I tell everybody I draw with, on days it doesn't work out, it's like, oh well, next Friday's a new challenge. And days it does work out, it's like, oh well, another challenge.
Yeah.
You don't get too excited or too sad because it's just practice, go, go, go.
Yeah.
And hopefully the model has come away with something nice that day. Like on Valentine's Day, that's a killer. I didn't realize I had scheduled Valentine's Day, but half my people are gone because they're with their loved ones. And I was lucky to have enough people that couldn't be with their special one that day or didn't have a special one, and that's who showed up.
Yeah. In terms of your models, so if they're people who don't normally model, right, and they just
Oh, yeah,
they
most
come
of them.
up, and most of them this is their first experience of modeling. how do they react when they start to sit down in front of a whole bunch of people? I mean, are they prepared? Are they wearing different things? What is their mindset? I mean, what would you say?
A lot of times find out it's harder than they thought it'd be.
Okay.
Especially for us, a lot of drawing group sessions, the model poses maybe a half hour. We have the first session 45 minutes. They're staring straight ahead at a pole or something for 45 minutes, and that's hard to do. Then it's followed by 3 half-hour sessions. So it's hard to prepare for it unless you've done it before, but it's an experience. Some people have sat for us. I think at least 2 of them mentioned it's almost like crossing up something on their bucket list that they didn't know they had.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes
I love
sense.
Because it's a weird experience. I mean, you maybe pose for a friend of yours, but to have at least 10, 12, 15, 20, 25 people staring at you, drawing you, that's unusual. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you give them suggestions and ideas? Like, do you have a particular theme or anything?
A lot of models will ask me, what do you think I should wear, or this or that? And I said, wear something you like to be seen in.
Love it.
Now, as an artist, if they come here with some wild paisley shirt, it just drives me crazy trying to capture that after I've been working on the face. But I don't care. We take whatever challenge they gave us. Last week's models had these amazing glasses. Her name was Stormy, and they were clear, and they were tall and big, and you could see right through the glasses. Yeah. So you saw her skin and everything around the glasses. It was just clear plexiglass or whatever it was, but we'd never seen anything like that. They were great. But a different challenge.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Hopefully there's some models out there that will watch this as well, and if you're out there, please let us know. I know that for those who have been tuned in the entire time, we're giving, if you share this video, that's how you mentioned it? Is that good? Oh, so you don't get the light on it? If you share the video, next week we're going to draw out of everybody who shared, and we're going to give this pastel drawing of Tim's to the winner. And people love original art.
Yes.
How many finished pieces? So you were, if we were to do the math, 50 times 14 over 14 years, and then we see a bunch of artwork. Would you say that you over the years have done thousands?
Oh yeah, easily
5,000s, tens of thousands of work.
I have no idea.
You have no idea. I mean,
it's funny. One of the artists who draws us was Larry Zuzik, Z-U-Z-I-K, Larry Zuzik. If you were to go on Google and go image search images and type in his name, it's like, for me, it was like wall to wall. His drawings have just kept going and 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 going. It was like, whoa! And they're all from our drawing groups. They popped up on Google that way. Now, Tim Herron, you Google, look at the images, you'll see the golfer, Lumpy, because he's more important than I am. Then somewhere in there, you'll see some of my drawings will start coming in.
It's at some point you'll come out first, right?
But it is amazing if you type in Larry Google on the image search what you see, because not too many Larry Zuziks out there.
Yeah. I am thinking that it might be. Are there anything right behind us, right? And so this is obviously not a Friday night portrait, right?
This is one done here.
Oh, so this is
the nudes. All the nudes are done here.
Gotcha.
Yeah. One interesting thing. Can you see the piece up here? This one here.
Yep, I can see it.
It's called Hammerman, Psycho, and Buck Naked. Wanted to help bust the crack dealers, but were afraid of being accused of racial profiling. When I first moved here, I could look out my bathroom window and see that scene. But I couldn't paint it because to be at nighttime to see out your window, you got to turn off the light in the room. Turn off the light, you can't see your canvas. So I had to put the canvas in the hallway. So I'd turn off the light in the bathroom, look at the scene, and walk in my hallway and paint. They come in the bathroom, shut the door, look out the window, and go back in the hallway and paint. So it's back and forth to get that image.
Wow.
And back at that time, we had crack dealers down here in the corner.
Sure.
And at 5 o'clock, there'd be 8 of them. Because there would be a shift change before and after they would come in and out.
They had shifts?
Oh yeah, right.
Sounds good.
Walk all the way around.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Upstairs. Top left, you'll see it.
Perfect.
Other things around here. You You see the Natural History Museum?
Mm-hmm.
Natural History Museum?
We love the Natural History Museum.
Yeah, now you can actually see the papers where I went there one day and drew part of a rhinoceros. Then here's another paper, I did another part of a rhinoceros and glued them down there and just threw stuff in the middle. But
That
this
is
was
gorgeous.
a springbrook and a leopard. That's a sculpture there. So I'd go there and draw.
Do you like the contrast between the skeleton and the foliage behind it, or is it just pretty much anything? If it strikes your fancy that day, that's what you're going to.
Probably both. I love the
attack.
contrast. You know, I want to make it darker so it sticks out so much. But probably could have done better with a better job of the landscape. But c'est la vie. But a while ago.
Gorgeous.
Can't see this one. It's covered by a trash can. But here's
Cobra?
they have a cobra. You don't have any light to
Yeah.
see. Can you see it with that?
Yeah. These phones are fabulous. And then here's the nun. This is the most recent here.
This is the one I'm currently working on. Yeah, I still have several sittings. This was a nude from a while ago. In the background, you can see the Beachland Ballroom.
Oh yeah. Now, where are is your stuffed creature from up here? You've got
Coolest is
your
taxidermy,
own-
Bedford, 30 years ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And you see the two drawings up here?
Mm-hmm.
They're from the Science Center. I actually got a chance to go to the Science Center. It's the first time they had what was called the plasticized people.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let you take cameras in there, but they let you draw. And I had to sign a release that I wouldn't put these online or on the web for like 5 or 10 years, and it's finally $15,000. But each day I go in there and do a different one. For 3 hours in this drawing, 3 hours in that drawing, and I have 4 more somewhere.
Because
that I
those
did.
were all from one artist. Is that why they said you couldn't? Was that exhibit?
No, I
was it the
think
same?
just because of the nature of the
Just the
exhibit
na-
being
oh, okay.
human, because they're real cadavers.
Yeah.
So they won't let you take any photographs. This
I will
one here is
admit
from the
I didn't
Antigua
go see
Museum
that.
of Art. They used to be more free in letting me go there and draw. Now I have to jump through hoops if I want to draw.
Really?
Well, they're more security sensitive. Now you can only use graphite. Back then I could bring in Conti and other things. I tried contacting somebody recently.
Yeah.
Natural History Museum.
Gorgeous.
You know, I noticed I put eyes in there. I like to have fun with my drawings sometimes. Even when I play in their paintings, I mess around with them.
It does make a heck of a difference with that.
This building up there, it's called the House Bakery. That actually, they tore that down about a couple months after. Sorry, Zara. They tore that down about a couple months after I painted it.
Wow.
So I captured a little bit of history there.
Lots of fun. Here are our dog guests also. They're being very patient with us.
There's Zara.
Zara and Vinny.
Here's why I did this last summer, just finished up in October. This is the Christmas Story house. With a passed out
Yay.
Santa on the ground.
Oh, nice. Excellent. We gotta give props to the Christmas Story house.
I always have long names, I can't remember half of them when I need to, but
Are there any other Cleveland spots that
Oh.
you love that just, like, do you do the Lake View Cemetery or?
the Lakeview Cemetery, the only thing I've done there was the Had Not Angel. She's the angel who's got the teardrops
Yep.
from the rust coming down.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I like Larchmere. Larchmere's been great.
Larchmere's gorgeous.
So Big Al's Diner was a wonder. That was one of my favorite places to paint. And Fiddlehead Gallery, I did one of her. Susan's Place, gave it to her. Did one of what's the gallery there? Wolf's Gallery. Did one of Wolf's
Okay.
Gallery. It was one of the few commissions. He saw me painting and offered to buy one of my paintings.
So you prefer more kind of gathering places as opposed to just the
Just
the
buildings.
yeah, just nice architecture, but it's
Yeah.
more about the people gathering there or social events that are.
These were from last year. This one here is a market, just a little market in Ohio City. That's at Randall and Bridge. So I'd be there like 7, 8, 9 times.
I was gonna say, I think I've been there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah,
this-
I love that.
This is another mark in Ohio City. Ohio City Brew Stop. So I'd stand across the street about 7, 8 times. Actually sit across the street 7, 8 times.
Is that oil?
They're all oil, yeah.
Or oil.
Yeah. The only time we do pastels portraits.
Okay.
Because I don't have to mess with it, I give it away.
Yeah, yeah.
If I've been doing lousy drawing, you don't have to frame, do a big drawing, well, then they kind of have to.
And it's quick too, right?
See what?
And it's quick too, the pastels.
Yeah, yeah. Oils does take longer.
Yeah, yeah. All right, hopefully you guys didn't get a loud bang if you had your earphones on.
My bad.
So, as we're kind of winding down, if there's any questions out there, let us know. You had talked about when you first moved here to Tremont, Ohio, that it was, you can get a place, and it's a depressed area, but it's not that way now.
Oh, no, it's total opposite. It's gentrified big time.
And do you think that the creative space has rejuvenated this in other areas? I mean, what do you think that's...
The theory is that the artists move in, and then the rest of life moves in and builds it up, and then you're okay. It changes things, but it's a weird thing. When I first moved here, Keith Brown was the realtor, great guy, and Keith would try to get the artists and tell them, well, this could be an artist community. It's isolated from the rest of Cleveland, which was right, and there were some artists down here, so artists moved in here. We had a great community. But once it started to gentrify, and the lawyers and doctors or whoever with money moved in, the cost went up, and now a lot of those artists have been pushed right back out.
Because they can't afford it.
Yeah, Tremont used to have a Tremont Art Walk. Now it's a Tremont Walkabout. The art's taken out of it because there is some art to see, but nothing like it was in the past. Most of the
When did
artists
that
had to move
happen?
on.
That,
That
that
switched?
it's not the Tremont Art Walk anymore.
A couple years, about 2 years ago. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So,
what's your opinion on... So you've seen this area. I mean, you were planted here, and you
Yeah.
saw the... you've seen the cycle, right?
yeah, yeah.
Is that what's happening in other areas of the country as well as other areas here in Cleveland? Do you know? Or
I know other areas want to see it happen like Tremont, and other areas are picking up. Because Collinwood, that hasn't changed yet. It's hopeful, you know. They're hoping the Beach and Ballroom is an anchor, and the stores and the shops coming up that they can. And sometimes we can actually draw at Waterloo Arts. That's a wonderful venue. Amy Callahan has been wonderful to let us draw there. It's right next to that little bar, Callaloo.
I think
Callaloo.
that sounds right.
Yeah, but they're changing hands now. So I guess one of the owners has moved on. Somebody else, they're trying to get other people in there to run it. But that's a wonderful place to draw.
What do you think, as far as, and it's a natural thing that the artists move in, the cuter food places move in, and then the lawyers, the doctors, the more white collar professionals move in, and it can become difficult then for the artists to reside there as opposed to just
Right.
visit. But where's the medium there at that point to prevent it from pushing
Going
the
back?
artists back out then? At
Yeah.
that point, and it just staying professional, white collar, residential, how do you keep that from happening?
I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a great thing to research, right? I mean, because places like Tremont have to exist elsewhere, certainly.
Right. Yeah, you also have Slavic Village off of 77. Now that's having a very hard time. But you'd think from its location that it could be another Tremont. You're close to work. If you got to work downtown, you move in there. But you just have to get the right amount of things to happen to change. Like Tremont in the early days, restaurants, there was Miracles, which was by Civilization. That was like the only restaurant I could think of. Sokolowski's been here forever. Mm-hmm. But they weren't a nighttime restaurant except for Friday and Saturday. And I love Sokolowski's. They're the best restaurant ever. But as far as regular restaurants at nighttime during the week to go to, Miracles was like the only one. Edison's at that time was the only bar you could go to that I knew of, other than a couple other small ones that had been around. Dempsey's, I guess, was still going on, and others. But boy, there was no restaurants down here. I remember when they put in the Treehouse. That helped stop a lot of car theft because they had windows and they could see down College where a lot of people are stealing the cars. And so slowly but surely things helped a little bit, but it just changed so drastically. You just have to get used to change. That's life.
Yeah.
Life changes.
Talk about changes. I mean, we have new generations coming in, right? And so do the Pretentious Portrait Artists, are we seeing some new blood coming in here, 20s and 30-somethings
Not
yet?
artist-wise.
Not artist-wise?
No, like I say, they can't afford the rent if they're artists.
Yeah, I'm talking about for the Friday night draw.
For the Friday night draw, yes, yeah. We're always getting new blood all the time.
Okay.
People come in, people stop out, and it changes, which is vital. We love that. Yeah, some amazing artists coming in, and never seen them before.
For folks that don't have a lot of experience with life drawing, I would imagine this is exactly where you want to be, because you're surrounded by people that have practiced. And
you can normally, like I said, I put some of the best artists I can in the front, and you could see some of these best artists ahead of you while you're drawing and how they approach doing a portrait. And they're different too.
That's smart.
If somebody were to come and ask for some coaching, is that something that...
I'm sure all the artists there would be glad to give their input if somebody asked them.
Yeah.
But a lot of artists like the fact that they're not somebody telling them what to do, that they can just work out their problems on their own.
Yeah, I love that. In terms of those newer artists, regardless of age, I mean, it could be somebody who says, "Hey, I'm
somebody really old, somebody really young."
Yeah, so like Beth and I were. I mean, we're back into that season of life where we're able to kind of rediscover ourselves, and so now we have time.
My dad started in his 60s.
Yeah, my father-in-law started later. So, but somebody is newer, or it's been a while since they picked up pencils or pastels or paintbrushes. What's some advice that you might give somebody that's newer?
Practice.
Do it, right?
Yeah, draw as much as you can. Yeah, and what I would suggest too is draw from life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're around people that know how to draw, I give you some tips. Like I say earlier, I mentioned negative shape. When I sit to draw their portrait, there are so many little tricks I can use from practice. Like I'll hold a chopstick I use for a straight line. I'll hold that up to see where the ears line up underneath the bows of the mouth. Are they here? Are they here? Are they here? And that's just little tricks you use.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of little tricks you use when you do that, but you don't know them when you start, so you got to learn them.
Yeah. In terms of your work, 2020 and for the next few years, I mean, where do you see your work going, or your attention focused, or your creativity?
I want to spread out some of the areas for plein air painting where people normally don't see them.
Yeah.
And go to areas I've never been before. Because I've saturated Tremont. I'll just come back. I love Tremont. I love doing plein air painting in Tremont. But I painted most of the things in Tremont at the time I wanted to paint. So I went to Larchmere, painted a lot there. Down in Coventry, I painted several places down in Coventry. I did Root Cafe in Lakewood, and I've done Bay Arts in Bay Village. But now I'm gonna think about maybe Warrensville, maybe some of the other areas, Euclid, maybe areas that I haven't got to, spread out east.
Is there a plein air group, or are you running solo at that point?
There's a competition in Peninsula once a year or twice a year that's plein air competition. I'll probably enter that. But like I say, there's not a lot of plein air painters right now currently up in Cleveland painting. Adrian Eisenhower is one, young artist, great artist, very good. He runs a life drawing group on Thursdays that I go to and draw. He hires models, so there, I pay and I go home with the drawings.
Yeah.
But
how does a plein air competition work? Is that all in one sitting, or is that?
I haven't been to the one in Peninsula yet, but what I understand is they tell the artist, they give them ideas of where to go paint, and at night bring the painting in, so we know you're not going home and copying it from a photograph. I think I was told that, and then they get 2-3 days to finish it, finish one or two or whatever they have, and then they have their revered judges who select the winner.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'll try it this year, see how I do.
Yeah, we would love to see that.
See, my plein air painting is different than a lot of plein air painters. You picture plein air painters, they're out there, and in 1 or 2, 3 sittings, their painting is done. It's loose, it's it's just impressionistic. Man, I labor over mine. I don't know how it got to that. Early in my career, I was doing plein air painting, and I was doing this quick stuff, and all my paintings looked like dull pieces of crap. I didn't like them. So I wanted to spend more time, get a little more detail, get a little more involved in it. And now they're pretty tight, like that beach and ballroom piece you saw there. That's pretty tight.
Yeah,
So I'm there about 8 or 9 times, 3 hours each, just to get to that finished completion. I don't know if I've done one of my paintings under 7 sittings. That little painting down there probably took about 6 sittings, so 3 hours each.
Do you have to, what is the time span that you're doing that over, because we live in Cleveland and the weather can change and that type of stuff?
Depends how many good days I get out there. During the summer, a lot of times I'm out there every day, because we don't normally have just pouring rain days, and we do. I'm not out there.
And you go about the same time during the day to get similar light?
Well, during the summer, I'll start out early. During the summer, I'll start out around 6, 7. I'll start around 7 o'clock, because it's getting light around 5:45, 6 o'clock. Walk the dogs, get something to eat, and head out the door.
And paint for how many hours at a time?
Depends what I'm working on. So on a good day, I'll do 3 paintings, but on a normal day, I can do 2 paintings to work on.
Gotcha.
And hopefully they're not too far apart where I'm painting.
Yeah.
How many questions do we have out there, Beth? It feels like we're kind of...
Yeah, we don't have questions. It's mostly just everybody loving listening to Tim speak. We've got, let's see, Jane Clay Teasley Hammond says, "You're such a natural, Tim. I'm so glad to catch most of this live."
Jane has been drawing us for not too long now. I'd say a matter of 6, 7 months or 6 months. Amazing artist. Amazing artist. It's beautiful work.
Good. Trisha Vanna says, "I love the different approaches everyone takes. Changing the color, the guy who does the cups, different styles, etc."
So she follows us. Trisha Vanna knows our work.
Okay.
The guy with the cups is Jack Float.
Yeah.
And he lives in Oberlin.
Oh, so he
wow.
drives...
His medium is normally ink.
Okay.
And he'll come all that way. And what I tell artists, normally I tell we donate the pieces. If an artist does more than 1 piece, well then you can keep one and give one. And that's what Jack does. He'll sit for half the session and do an ink portrait of the model. Then he'll get a coffee cup and he'll draw their portrait and he'll take that home.
Love that.
Jeff Santala is our major watercolorist, one of the best in Cleveland. And he'll come down and he has a little book. Whatever he does in that little book, he's going to take home with him. But then the other half of the time, he'll do a watercolor for the model on a different piece of paper that he'll give her. So she'll have an image of the one he took, but she'll get to keep the other one. So the next day, she'll have a watercolor and an image of the one he kept.
Interesting.
I think I've seen a video of the flip book, right?
Yes, yes.
That's awesome.
That's
He'd be a great one for you guys to interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very good, yeah.
Christine Dunn says, "You are an amazing artist." Yeah, there's not a lot of questions, just everybody raving about you.
That's very kind of him. Thank you. Well, thank you.
So there are people who have joined in, and when people watch the Tuesday 7 episodes later, sometimes I'll move forward, sometimes I'll miss a few things. In terms of your Pretentious Artists,
Yes.
Friday nights, the best way to contact is to check maybe on your Facebook page?
On my Facebook site, I'll have the location.
Okay.
And the time is 7:30 to 10:30. But like we're drawing right now at Artful Cleveland, which is the old Coventry Elementary School. And for security reasons, they want us to keep the door locked. And we're away from the door, so we can't leave it unlocked. So at 7:25, we lock it. Then we go up and draw. And most of the artists have my phone number. They'll call me, "Hey, Tim, I got here late. Let me in." And we can let them in. But if somebody new's to the place and they show up late, I mentioned on the notice that, get there, the doors will lock it. So if you look on my site for the location, you'll see that information.
Your Facebook is
Tim Herron.
Herron.
It's funny, I signed all my artwork Timothy. I don't even use my last name. It just, when I started, I figured whoever would get my artwork, I'd be on a name-to-name, first-name basis with them.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a great artist. Nobody's going to want Mr. Herron's work. So here's Timothy.
Well, it's work. And so if you shared his video, you might get this work signed Timothy right at the bottom. So.
Now, it's funny, I had that artist, Robert Ritchie, who did the non-objective stuff. I did collaborations with him. All his work was signed Robert. And it's funny, so we're the few people that signed with just our first name. We don't want to be Madonnas, but they just start out in an innocent way.
And has it always been that way? Has it always been Timothy
From
from
Timothy,
the beginning? Huh?
Yeah. I could have a whole Oh, night telling you about Robert. He was a character.
Fun.
He'd go read poetry out, and he'd wear like old wedding dress of somebody's. Or else he'd take inflatable dolls, male or female, cut them up and wear the sleeves and the face and the parts and read horrible poetry. He was like a train wreck. People loved him. And one time he wore nothing but animal parts. He had like a frog on his ear, and a crab, a turtle head on a chain, a chicken foot through his chest, and like an octopus or a squid covering his groin. And he'd read this horrific poetry. And he was a character, but I did a lot of art with him. I did the collaborations we entered the May Show with.
Yeah, yeah.
And after this, I could show you some upstairs that we did together. The pieces by the TV on the right side of the TV are all his. The one with glitter and the shirt pocket with a cigarette sticking out of it.
Love it. I mean, the intention behind this whole Tuesday 7, it's kind of emerging. There's no real agenda to it. I would call it more of a social experiment. We're pressing a button on our phone and connecting. There is phenomenal talent in Cleveland, including yourself.
Well, thank you.
And I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to invade your space, your studio. That's phenomenal work. I mean, I could probably sit here and spend a weekend just...
It's intimidating for me just to go online and look at all the amazing artwork that's out there. You feel pretty insignificant after that. I mean, these people are around the world, everywhere in Cleveland. They're just like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it's
to get
amazing.
noticed, you really got to do something.
Yeah, it's amazing, and to connect and to brag on the local artists is kind of...
Well, I appreciate it, Roger. Thanks.
It's great. I may join you one of these next Fridays, not because I'm any type of artist, but because
you'll get the
You're
seat.
absolutely an artist.
You'll get the seat.
Yes.
And I'm not taking the front seat by any means, but I'll sit second row or third row back, and I'll have.
Oh, you're going to draw with us?
I'm going to draw with you.
Oh, okay, good. I thought you were talking about posing with us.
No,
Okay.
yes, that too. But he's being humble. He's an amazing artist. So.
Well, we'd love to have him.
He should be interviewed sometime.
And he probably will be, huh?
maybe at some point. But Tim, thank you for allowing us in.
No problem.
For
It was
sharing,
a pleasure.
Yeah, sharing your insight, to giving us some great comments, even about negative space and the chopsticks. That's stuff that even some seasoned artists with some gray hair will take home and write down and use, as well as some newbies as well. We've talked about how to get in contact with you, Tim Herron, Herron,
on Facebook. Yes.
If you go to Google and search the Pretentious Cleveland.
Just look at Pretentious Artists.
Pretentious
Cleveland Artists. Pretentious Cleveland Portrait Artists. You'll find us.
Love it. And then we can find, connect with you guys on your website as well.
Yeah. If you do happen to go to the website and you've never been there before, in the blog, we have last several years of photos of the models and the drawings they received, one after another.
And I'm already on the wait list, so I'll be a model at some point this summer. But that wait list is all the way to October, and I know why, because it's a phenomenal.
It's a weird experience that most people don't get to enjoy.
Yeah,
it's not an option for them. Who does this? Like I said, what other city has Pretentious Artists?
Yeah.
Only Cleveland.
Only Cleveland.
Only Cleveland.
Only Cleveland.
Thank you guys for joining us. If you share, we'll be giving away this original art signed by Tim himself, Timothy, and we'll draw that name next week. So connect then. Feel free to share this so that other people can enjoy Tim's genius, and so other people can connect with the portrait group as well.
And I have to tell my girlfriend Linda I love her.
Hi, Linda.
Linda, thank you for sharing Tim with us on a Tuesday night. Thank you guys for sharing your Tuesday nights with us. We will connect again next. Oh, by the way,
I was going to say, any hints about next week?
I'm going to exhale, and I'm going to say you'll know next
Special guest
next Sunday. Monday is kind of when we announce the next one. We've got a superstar lineup, only because Cleveland is filled with superstars, really. And thank you for.
Now people can go back and see other interviews you've had before. They have to scroll down your Facebook site, or how?
So you can go to Roger. There's the Tuesday at 7 group on Facebook. So if you just put Tues at 7,
you'll
be able to see all the videos.
Okay.
Roger has also uploaded them to YouTube, so you can also look for Tues at 7 on YouTube. Or if you're really interested in the minutia of Roger's life, you can go to Roger Miller on Facebook,
as well.
and in between that, you can find all of the videos that way too. So there's quite a few different, and there's a Facebook group for Tues at 7, Tuesday at 7, and then all the videos are there also.
Yeah, so the Facebook group, if you go to the search bar and put TUES, the @ sign, and then the number 7, the numeral 7, and then you'll get to the Facebook group. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing, kind of self-promoting, and at this point in March of 2020, there's out of 300, 400 people in that group. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent there, and so it's kind of self-promoting. We let folks know what other folks are up to. We've got artists of all kinds of different mediums there, and I'm glad that we have some portrait artists and some phenomenal oil painters as well. So you could share, you can watch, you can jump into the library, and whether this is 2020 or 2070, people can search back.
I plan to be around that too,
Yeah, me too.
That's my plan.
Have a great week, guys. Thank you for sharing and spending your time with us. All right, take care.